Hello, welcome to the Cinema Savvy Movie Podcast, a channel for film reviews, discussions, and everything in between. I'm Chris Garner, joined by my co-hosts Tate and the Hour and George Aldridge, and today we're bringing you another list. Last time we did our top 15, I guess, best films of the year. Today's going to be the complete opposite. We're going to have our worst slash most disappointing films.
Films.
Poop. The dregs of the year. I do want to say first, though, that this list was very difficult because I don't usually go out of my way to watch bad movies. So I sort of see the ones that I wanted to see, or I was intrigued by, and then sort of get the list from there. I don't know if you're the same with that sort of thing. You just go and see movies.
A couple of mine are not exactly bad films, but disappointing films.
Yeah. And I think we're all going to have that in our list, yeah.
I'm going to just start off and say that I missed 2 months of films, and normally I love watching the really bad films when I've seen the good ones and the ones I want to see. But I haven't got around to all the good ones, so at the minute, this list of 5, 2 of them are disappointments to me. 3 of them are the only 3 films I've hated that I've seen this year, but I haven't seen a lot of horrific films. Just 3 I despised, 2 that I was disappointed by. I kind of like them still.
Yeah, definitely, and we're all the same in that boat, I think. Also, before we get into our list, I just want to say, as of this recording, we have officially hit 100 subscribers on our channel, so thank you everyone that's joined the channel, subscribed and everything like that. We're going to be bringing you loads more reviews in 2016, expanding the channel, so thank you very much, guys, for sticking around, and we look forward to doing more stuff in 2016. But, right, let's get into the list now. Honourable mentions. Yes, take it away, Tate.
So I've got a couple on here which I do need to explain. So first of all, Crimson Peak. It wasn't a bad film. However, I went into it expecting it to be a horror film, and it definitely wasn't a horror film. Then we got Jupiter Ascending, Pixels, In the Heart of the Sea, Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, Insurgent, Pan, Chappie, Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2, and oh dear Lord Chris, and subscribers and people watching, please have mercy on me for saying this. In fact, I'm just going to let Chris say it because it might actually make me want to throw up.
Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Yeah, because, like...
You have no soul?
No, we've already done loads of videos on how we now officially hate Chris and we have to just put up with him on the podcast. So we'll just move on to our actual top 5s.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right.
I'm going to say no more on this matter.
I've seen it 4 times now, and every time I watch it, I come out like, what is wrong with him? I'm going to kickstart mine with the most controversial thing. This is a film I actually quite enjoyed. It's not ranked down on my list of the year. It's solid mid-table. However, this is a crushing disappointment to what I wanted, to one of the best comic book storylines there's ever been. One of the best villains there's ever been in this Age of Ultron.
That's my 5 as well.
Yep, that's in mine as well.
Oh!
We're all agreeing on that one.
It's my number 5 as well.
What I'm going to say is, I did not hate this film. I like this film, but it's a crushing disappointment for what it should have been and what the first few trailers showed us. That's all I'm going to say. I do like it, but there are an awful amount of flaws.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that. As I said, Avengers Age of Ultron's my number 5 as well. When you saw the trailers, it looked like this was really going to sort of like ramp up not just the Avengers franchise, but just the Marvel franchise in general. We're finally getting Ultron. The trailers made him look awesome, and it didn't really take any chances. The film was just more or less a carbon copy clone of the first one, and you can tell that a lot of material was cut out, which I think really sort of like hurt the film and didn't really develop it as much as it should have been.
And it's such a waste of James Spader.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
My number 5 wasn't Age of Ultron, but it is somewhere on my list. My number 5 was Minions, the cash grab of the year, I have to say. This film was ridiculously terrible. You can't make a film based off cute characters. If that was the case, then we'd have maybe, like, sequels to, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a movie that they could probably... like sequel out of, like it's
we've
like
seen it before with like Madagascar where they did the penguins, but the penguins were funny in Madagascar.
Yeah, it's like having what's it called, the Lima People have a movie and not including Sacha Baron Cohen in it.
Yeah,
that's what they basically did here, and it was a terrible movie, bad voice acting. You don't really get bad voice acting. It was played down for kids. It made a lot of money, but it really wasn't that good, and I really do hope they just stop there, because they have destroyed the original Despicable Me film now. as they focus too much on the tiny little characters. And if I goddamn see another person's Facebook status with a fucking minion on it saying how they're finding life hard and minions help them get through it, I'm going to punch my screen multiple times.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen any of the Despicable Me films or Minions, but as
You've seen before, at least one Facebook post, haven't you?
Yeah, and just Minions is just everywhere. You see it absolutely everywhere. From like trailers and stuff I've seen, I've always found them hugely annoying. And when I saw that they were making a film exclusive of them, I was like, I don't need to see this movie.
But the people who are voice acting it, you've got Sandra Bullock, John Hamm, Michael Keaton. Why was that not a good film?
I know. They want to please their grandkids.
So I don't know whether they're going to sort of like end the Despicable Me franchise now and just focus on Minions, because you know that Minions will be getting a sequel. You know it will.
My God. No, I really don't want to see one, because then there'll be more Facebook posts. Like, I prefer the Facebook posts about the Six Spins Corps than ones about Minions.
That's really offensive to Six Spins Corps. That guy was he was the first ever stormtrooper to say, you know what, I'm not afraid, I'm going to do my job, I'm going to win Employee of the Month. And he tried his best. And god damn it, he fought well.
Let's move on to our number 4s, because we keep on going back to Star Wars in the worst films of the year list.
Well, I'm going to make another reference. My number 4 was Tomorrowland. Me and Chris reviewed this when it came out. There's an amazing scene which is almost Star Wars nostalgia, and for 2/3 of the film I had a really good time. I was excited, I was really looking forward to the start of the year, something original, something different, and then the film kind of blows itself up at the end, and then it reeks this message of global warming, pay attention. And it's a shame, because again, I don't hate this film, it's just here because I was disappointed. I do like it, it's watchable. I think there'll be kids that watch it and that they might like it, they might not, I don't know, but there's one there, but it should have been so much more, because Brad Bird's a fantastic director and I was really looking forward to it, especially off the back of Mission Impossible. And the end, it just killed itself. They even wasted Hugh Laurie.
Yeah, and I'll just agree with everything you just said there. This was probably a film that, if we weren't doing a review for a channel, I probably would have just skipped entirely, to be honest. I do think that Brad Bird is a fantastic director with stuff like Incredibles and Iron Giant. We know he can do animation well, and as you said, like Mission Impossible as well. So it got to this, I was sort of interested. I thought the actual look of Tomorrowland was really quite awesome, and I would have loved to have seen that developed a little bit more in the film, but it was just such a forgettable film. I don't know if I think it flopped, didn't it? I think it made its budget back just, but it didn't really have a big impact, which is a shame for Brad Bird and everything like in the original movies. But yeah, the Star Wars hype bit was good. It's just really forgettable. It was when I was sort of like pulling all the films that I went to see this year. I just went like, oh yeah, and I went to see Tomorrowland. In fact, I think it was the only film this year, granted I was up late the night before I went to see Tomorrowland, that I've actually fell asleep in the cinema. Just briefly, maybe for 5 minutes, but it hit that ending. And it just all like completely fell apart for me, which is a shame, because as I said, like George Clooney turned in a solid performance, and it was nice seeing Hugh Laurie in a film, but it really didn't do anything for me. As I said, I forgot I went to see it. It just didn't leave me with anything. And Tate, did you see it?
No, I didn't see it. I wanted to go see it actually. You've kind of put me off seeing it now, so
it's one that it's worth a watch one day. I mean, it's not bad. It just kills itself at the end.
Yeah.
But it's got one of the funnest scenes of the year in that, the shop scene. I won't ruin it, Tate, but
yeah, it's fine.
It's got some really, really, really cool bits in it. It just kills itself, and you don't see Tomorrowland. It's like Godzilla. I went to watch Godzilla, and he didn't come, and I went to watch Tomorrowland to see, Tomorrowland World, and it's an advert for 3 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. But that one scene is awesome, especially if you do see it, just look in the background the whole time. Ignore everything the characters are saying and just look around the shop. It's amazing.
Okay.
But my number 4 pick is Macbeth. I said in our review for this was one of my most anticipated films of the year. The director is fairly up and coming, I think. I don't know if this was his first ever feature. Next time he's obviously directing the Assassin's Creed movie, which I am still really looking forward to. And you saw the cast, Michael Fassbender, Marion Cotillard, David Thewlis was in it, and it looked like it was doing Shakespeare right. I'm a huge fan of Shakespeare. He's probably my favourite writer ever, and just the look of the film, that's a positive I can say about the film. I think the film visually looked great, but oh man, I got into that cinema and it was just an awful adaptation. Now, if someone's not a hardcore Shakespeare fan or not a fan of the play, I don't really know what this film was geared towards, like what audience, because if you're not a fan of Shakespeare, why would you go and see the movie? You're going to be just tune out within the first scene because they do speak in the Shakespeare language. And if it is for Shakespeare fans, then it's a completely terrible adaptation that removes a lot of stuff, it changes a lot of stuff, which makes it nonsensical. I just had a miserable time at this movie.
See, I despise Shakespeare, and Macbeth's the only Shakespeare thing I've ever liked. And I was bored of the dialogue, but I really enjoyed the film. And Chris, you're in the Star Wars minority because a lot of people have really liked this. I don't know if it's come out in America yet. But Empire got it high. I know that's a magazine, but a lot of people really, really liked it, and it's getting tipped for a nomination still.
Yeah.
And a lot of Shakespeareans do. And I don't know if this is another Star Wars situation, but I'm not as bothered because it's Macbeth and it's Shakespeare. And you talk about your favourite writers of all time, and how have you not got George Lucas in that list? Do you not like sand? Imagine, another reference. I can go all day. I'm not even joking. I'm sitting in front of my cardboard R2D2.
Didn't we just get all the Star Wars references out when we did Star Wars month? Are we going to need another Star Wars month at some point?
I think we might need a Star Wars year. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But
every day is a Star Wars day.
I can gladly say that my number 4 pick is not a Star Wars film, but it is made by the same company. And I know that we've touched on this already, but Avengers: Age of Ultron was disappointing for me. All I can say on that film is, how did that train manage to travel for 1 mile on no tracks?
I know. The film was just terrible.
Train? What train?
Tram or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a train, it got derailed and it went on for about a mile until it came to a stop.
When they tried to rip off the Spider-Man ending with Quicksilver.
I think there was at least 30 seconds of screen time where it kept moving. And it was going through buildings and stuff like that, so I would expect it to stop by then.
It could be. It could be like the 50-mile runway in Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Could be.
But yeah, I guess we could talk more about Avengers: Age of Ultron, because you said obviously it was coming up later in your list. Here it is. I just don't think it did as much for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This was the film. Well, we had Ant-Man afterwards. I thought that was like a sub-film. This was the film that was meant to set up Civil War.
Yeah.
And it really failed.
I'm not gonna lie, but I think it was Screen Junkies. They said it best. All of the other films before the first Avengers were there to set up the Avengers. Yeah. Avengers: Age of Ultron is to set up all of the other films.
Yeah.
And when it's meant to be a big collaborative film, you can't do that.
No.
This is meant to be the climax, and then it's just become another one of those films. You can build up hype for one film, but you can't build up hype for 5 or 6 films coming from that one film. You can build up hype with 6 or 7 films going into one film, but you can't do the opposite, and I think that's just a failure on Disney's part.
And the last time Marvel tried that was with Iron Man 2, and I mean, look how that turned out. That was more or less an extended trailer for Avengers, and not an Iron Man film. And this sort of did the same thing. It introduced loads of new characters, which is look at your sort of budget Avengers for when Robert Downey Jr., Chris Hemsworth, and a lot of them don't want to carry on. And then it's introducing things like Black Panther, which just completely derails the story. And it's just the same sort of action. It's just your big enemy with a clone... clone army, more Star Wars references, that just show up in a city, and it's just,
wasn't it exactly the same plot as the first Avengers?
Yeah, it pretty much was. And then it's take out the bad guy, and all the the goons just fall down because they've destroyed the Trade Federation ship. Yeah.
What I
was
gonna say, what gets me most of Age of Ultron was the setting up Civil War, Civil War's my favourite comic of all time. I've read an awful lot, and that's the best one. I'm looking forward to it so much. When the planet lifted in the air, well, not planet, sorry, the stupid city.
Yeah. I forgot that happened.
I was there at the cinema goes when they're we can, save them all, or some can die, and I was there they're not gonna do it. They're all gonna die. Here we go, Civil War. Get excited, and then it took the piss by having them save. You have the Marvel Cinematic version of the Eagles, which is the Hellcarrier, which just turned up out of nowhere. Just because people made jokes saying, where was War Machine in the first Avengers? They actually put War Machine in the Avengers 2 for a minute. I was when it came out, I was buzzing. And
You
then
saw it quite a few times, didn't you? I think.
Well, I had normal midnight booked, and just a standard. I always go with like a certain set of mates for comic book films. So I had 2 tickets booked anyway, and I won a competition to watch it early before release. So it was one of them where I just didn't like it that much. The more I look at it, the more I dislike it. But it was still fun. It's just like not what it should have been.
Yeah, and it's like the whole Thor subplot thing where he just goes to like a pool of water that got horribly cut down, so it didn't really make much sense. I think Black Widow, a lot of her backstory was trimmed as well. Whether that was a case of the studios forcing Joss Whedon to do it or whatever, because we know that he sort of like came out of this film and he was just burned out, and he quit. I think, yeah.
What? Where did that come
That
from?
was random. Was that the voice of Disney Studios? Just like
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
But I will say I did like Andy Serkis in it with his.
Yeah.
Today I found out Tatum just does not like the South African accent, which killed me. I actually felt physically ill.
I'm sorry,
when
all
he told me.
people from South Africa, but I really am not a
In-
fan of your accent, even though my family comes from a similar region. I'm
I'm
so
gonna
sorry.
say, in the most South Park Canadian way, "You are racist, buddy." But it's when like he spoke, and I was like, "This is Andy Serkis with a South African accent. Get in." Then he
Yeah.
gets his arm chopped off, and he will return in Black Panther.
And
I'm not-
Andy Serkis is just one of the best actors out there now, and it's actually nice to see him properly, on
His
camera
face,
without
yeah.
behind the motion capture. Because we know he's great with motion capture, but
Yeah.
I think he's a great actor that needs more recognition for himself as an actor, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
King Kong, but
He's great.
Yeah,
in
King
King
he's
Kong.
lumpy. Yeah.
With his one guy, then he gets raped by the sort of the foreskin slug thing.
Okay, guys. So if you're watching this podcast right now, seeing as this is the fight, well, this is like the
That's the best thing
only video this year which we can completely just laugh at because it's films
Yeah.
that we really aren't too keen on. The only way we're going to get through it is if we're laughing. So if you're enjoying yourselves as much as we are, then please continue to stick around because we want more than 100.
Yes, pushing for 101 at the minute, I
Literally.
guess.
Yes.
Don't watch King Kong again because it'll take too long. Just watch that scene, and I'm right.
Yeah, yeah. So
Shall
is it me now? I've
We're moving
completely
on to
lost
number
track.
3 picks. I think it's George. I
Okay.
think.
Right, so I'm now in the territory of films I hate. There are only 3 films this year I utterly despised. The first of the 3, so basically the third is Fant 4 Stick.
Okay, don't talk about this one
I won't.
too much.
But Chris changed it to the Fant 4 Stick, and I've never let it go. Now.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful name for a film.
Well, that's what all the posters and trailers were saying. They substituted the A for the 4, and then they sort of like backpedaled and went, "Oh no, that sounds a bit shit. We'll call it Fantastic Four." But I was like, "No, I'm not letting this go. You called it Fant 4 Stick. That's what you got to stick with now." But yeah, no, we're coming back to that one later, so I don't want to talk about that one too much right now. And Tate, you might actually want to hold off on this one as well. My number 3 pick, and again, this is true now. My top 3 are the ones I actually hated and hurt me. Number 3 is Jurassic World.
Yeah, hold off.
Okay. Tate, your 3.
My number 3 pick, Spectre.
No.
Oh,
No.
oh, that came out of left field.
That's-
Wow.
No, I
Didn't-
can't agree with that.
You
I
can't
love it.
agree
It's-
with it.
It's in our honourable mentions at the top half from the other video, and now it's here.
Wow.
Huh?
Tate,
Did it get
explain
into the
yourself.
honourable mentions
Explain.
for the other
I
video?
want to hear this. I want to hear this.
So, I am an old school James Bond fan. There you go, there's my explanation.
I'm one as well, and I love it.
The thing is, though, with this film, with the previous films, it had been, okay, Skyfall I really disliked. Like, genuinely,
Yeah, same
Skyfall
here.
is my least favourite Bond film of all time. Everything about that film was done badly, other than the opening sequence.
Mm-hmm.
In this film, I was expecting more. This was a disappointment. I saw Daniel Craig. He's been an okay Bond. I liked him in Casino Royale. All of the other films have been mediocre as far as Bond films have gone. Christoph Waltz, sorry, as the main bad guy. Oh my god, I was so excited to go see this, and it was so disappointing. Not only that, but I thought, oh, okay, so we've also got what's his face? Jim. Is it Jim Sturgis? Just having a look now. Andrew
guy
Scott, sorry.
Oh, the guy from Sherlock. Yeah, that
Guy
was.
from-
I'll say here that was.
Oh yeah,
that was
yeah.
a ridiculous subplot.
Yeah.
It
That
was
was
so
stupid.
stupid.
That was ridiculous that they had more than one villain. And in fact, no, there was 3 villains. Dave Bautista.
He's
Yeah.
great.
Something about Bond films is you need one villain, one amazing villain, and maybe one henchman. You don't have 2 villains and like 5 henchmen.
You have
like-
one of the best henchmen in.
Yeah,
Batista,
I'll agree
though.
with that.
Like,
He is
and they
intimidating.
didn't use him. They barely used him. Not only
Well,
that, but a ridiculous
I think they
plot.
used him enough. To
I
be
think,
honest.
yeah, you
Ridiculous
don't want
plot.
too much.
The whole I'm not Blofeld in the pre-stuff. Oh wait, yes I am in the actual film. The fuck was that? I'm sorry, but also I just got to say
It's called
they
a John
did
Harrison.
not use Monica Bellucci. They did not use
Yeah.
Monica
Yeah, I'll
Bellucci
go with
as
that.
much as they should have.
She's in it
But
for
then
one scene.
again, most Bond films do sort of like have multiple Bond girls, you know. But I do think they could have used her a lot
they've
more.
used
Like,
multiple Bond girls in the past, but they've at least given them some form of plot to go with. Like, her
Yeah.
plot device was Bond needs to have sex with someone in this scene.
yeah, I think the whole Rome sequence was kind of superfluous to the film, although it did lead to one of the most awesome car chases I've seen in
Yeah.
a long while.
There was only
Um,
one thing I liked about this film, and it wasn't even the car chase. The one scene I liked was where Christoph Waltz sat down for the first time in his chair and was very quiet.
Oh, what about the opening shot though? That's got to be like one of my favourite shots of like the last 5 years.
Hold on. Sorry. I forgot about Dia dos Muertos. Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead, was
Mexico.
probably one of the best Bond openings they've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything after that was disappointing, annoying, boring, and I genuinely thank the company for saying, okay, this is his last Bond. And in fact, Daniel Craig
They
did
haven't
not
said
want to
it.
do Bond in this film.
I thought he had another one to go.
He's got one more. He hasn't decided if
got
he's
one
taking
more.
it or not.
Because he said that in an interview, he said, I do not want to play Bond anymore. And in this performance, it looks like it. He looks bored. He doesn't look like he wants to be Bond anymore. It has a very, this is going to be the last time that Daniel Craig is James Bond feel about it. And I really do hope it is, because this film was bad.
You know
and without
why?
go
I
on.
was just
sorry.
say, you know why he didn't want to be Bond? Because he'd been in Star Wars when he filmed Bond. That's right. He played a stormtrooper.
He played the
He peaked.
stormtrooper that got hypnotized by Daisy Ridley.
Yeah, one of the second most memorable stormtrooper.
What about the Chrome Trooper? Said no one
Who?
ever.
yeah, yeah.
But no, I disagree with a lot of that. But that's an argument
Yeah.
for another time. But I would defend Batista. He was my favourite wrestler growing up, and he's terrifying in this film. Children will be scared. He Game of Thrones a 12A, for God's sake. He just pokes that guy's eyes, and they cut to the skimmering man on the side of the table.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit. And then when he fights Bond, he's just ready to massacre him, and he's not dead.
Oh,
He's got his-
and he gets taken down by a girl with a chain.
That was awesome though. I love
That was
No, no,
awesome.
well, he doesn't
but
get taken
it's
down.
not a good way to go. And
He's coming back.
Yeah, he signed on
totally
for multiple
coming back.
films. When they announced it, they signed him on for multiple films. And then
What?
it
Are you
says
crazy?
That.
That can't kill Dave Batista.
And that's why if you watch it, he's got his hands around the chain, then he's just thrown off, so he's not choking.
Yeah.
But no, Batista's here to stay. He's great. Obviously,
I mean,
the
yeah.
way I've seen it is that they're going to keep Christoph Waltz for one more. The Blofeld stuff didn't work. They should have just said it's Blofeld from minute one.
Yeah,
They tried
or
to
they
jo-
should have
they tried
done,
to
or
John
they
Harris
should
with
have
it.
done something different. We've already had a Blofeld origin story. We don't need a second one because that makes one of the films out of canon.
Going-
Do you know what
going-
film that was? Is now not canon.
Going into it,
On Her
yeah,
Majesty's Secret Service is according to what's his face, the company that made it, as 21st Century Fox or wherever they are. No, this is
It's
What company is it?
different.
It's MGM,
Casino-
isn't it?
MGM. Yeah, sorry.
MGM own it.
They've now said that On Her Majesty's Secret Service is not canon.
They,
and that's
they haven't been
ridiculous.
since Casino Royale. Casino Royale's a reboot. Like I see them all as one.
I
Yeah,
know,
they are
And
a
Her
reboot.
Majesty's- Her
No,
Majesty's Secret
On Her
Service is one
Majesty's
of my
Secret
favourites.
Service was still considered canon until this film came out.
I thought it was before Casino Royale
No,
because they
because in
reslated
this,
it.
and that means the whole him getting a wife, him going to visit the grave.
Yeah.
That makes all of the films after On Her Majesty's Secret Service involving James Bond's past non-canon.
Well, they never reference it much
there's
anyway.
Only in the Dalton ones and one of the Roger Moore ones who visits the
Yeah.
grave. They're hardly.
I
They're
know,
hardly
but
touched.
still,
I love them.
that
Don't get me wrong, I
added
love it.
something. And,
And to
But-
be honest, we sort of got a similar thing in Casino Royale with
Vesper.
Eva Green's character.
yeah.
No, the
I
way
know
I
they
was-
didn't get married, but it was pretty close to it.
But he doesn't go to visit her grave. The gravestone says Bond on it. It's so annoying. That's
But we
why
did get
I
a
did not
moment in
expect
Sky. I don't want this to turn into a Skyfall review, but the moment where it sort of like calls back to the previous one, which was a factor I actually really liked in Spectre. Sorry. But anyway, yeah, we'll have a Bond discussion sometime. We'll
We'll
through
move
all
on
the
to
films
number
'cause
twos.
We need to fight our corner on that one, George. So it's your pick, number 2 pick then, George.
Number 2. I don't think any of you have seen this because I'd already right. I'm to go. I'd already seen Kingsman twice at this point. I would have seen it again, but it was sold out. And the only other film on,
Oh no, I know
Oh,
what
God.
it is.
Focus.
Oh, okay. I thought he was
Ooh.
going to go 50 Shades with that one.
Do you really think?
Mate,
Am I going to watch that at cinema?
50 Shades is an all-time classic.
Oh my god, there's a you know that my desires are unconventional. They've got
Yeah.
it as spinning stormtrooper, and then it's
Oh.
Finn, and it's like, what are they? Then he goes traitor. But anyway, Focus. Has anyone heard of it? It's got
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah,
Will Smith and
one,
Margot
yeah.
Robbie. This was so boring. I was depressed. It was twist after twist after twist after twist after twist after
What a
twist.
twist.
Then you get to the final minute, twist, and I was.
Did Shyamalan direct this movie?
He would have tried, and he would have done a better job of it.
Ooh.
It was so boring. Literally, the only way this could have been worse is if Will Smith made them cast Jaden in a flashback scene or something.
Oh,
I was
wow.
so like, I was so dead, and I was just there like, I hate this. Fantastic. I would defend. There is one cool scene where Doctor Doom explodes a head, and
Yeah.
he has magic invisible bullet spray against walls, which he shoots people with. This had a Chinese stereotype businessman losing all of his money betting until Will Smith wins, because plot device, Will Smith doesn't have the money to bet, but he'll keep on betting because he knows that he'll eventually win a bet. It's a monstrosity of shite.
Yeah.
And don't ever watch this film.
Put that on a t-shirt.
I'm devastated I fucking saw this. I would have rather sat in a full Kingsman screen again and sat on the stairs. I should have actually sneaked back into it and seen it halfway through. I won't ever forget this film. And Margot Robbie is Margot Robbie.
Mhm.
She looks nice, but even in this, she's fucking boring.
See, I didn't see this movie,
No,
but
don't-
I
don't-
heard
no.
really bad things about it when it
I
came
don't know
out.
why, like, because I went with my mate and then she goes, "Oh, we'll watch this." I was like, and then it happened.
Rain check.
And
Yeah.
do you know what? I was so excited because before the film they played the trailer for Chappie, which we'll be talking about soon. But yeah, this is just a shower of shite.
Yeah, and I think what this film did was it sort of like shook the audience and, well, probably the studios, that Will Smith's name really doesn't carry that clout anymore that it used to.
And then
Because this wasn't a summer movie, was it? I think this was
it's
just slightly
February. It's about
before.
February.
I have to say,
Yeah.
after Earth, I don't think his name will carry until he does Suicide Squad.
Yeah, Suicide Squad's going to be the tell, I think. And I mean, it would have been great to have seen him back in Independence Day 2, but because I do think that there is.
Do you know
sort of
why
like
he
a-
turned it down?
Because they didn't give him
What's that?
like $50 million or
They didn't
$17
give him. They
million
didn't
or
give
something.
him a double what everyone else wanted to be paid, and he also wanted Jaden Smith to have a role.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, fuck him then.
So what they did?
So they basically
they
said,
killed
"Okay,
him.
we'll go somewhere else."
No, I'm not joking. Like, apparently there's a website and they says the pilot, he was killed in 2009. I was like, haha, you're never coming back, Will Smith. Be done with you. You're a thing of the past. Stop trying to make yourself a career. We all hate him. He thinks he's a philosopher. He's really not. He's just a tot on Twitter.
Actually,
we
do you
have
know what?
Bill
His,
Pullman
his,
and Jeff Goldblum.
his philosophy rants on Twitter are amazing.
It's like the capital letter at the start of every word. It's like I did that when I was 10 on Facebook for a year.
I'm in fact going to pull up Jaden Smith's Twitter account now and read out what the last status is. If you guys continue talking.
What else do we want to talk about? Like Jaden Smith, like what an absolute hero he is. He's the wisest. Have you ever seen his eyebrows, like the way they move? And the fact that like Will Smith named his daughter Willow and his wife, is it Jade? The son Jaden.
Jada, yeah.
How imaginative do you get? Seriously, I liked The Fresh Prince. I liked your early work. I liked some of
I
your...
guilty pleasure like Wild Wild West.
I've
Not
never
even
seen
gonna
it.
lie.
I've never
Mm.
seen
I love
it.
that movie.
But there's an awful lot of good Will Smith films. I Live, I Robot.
Are you ready for
Men in
this?
Black,
I've looked
yeah.
down at his tweets. Age of Adeline might be one of the best movies I've ever seen, excluding Twilight. And there we go.
Well, Age of Adeline, apparently it's got A, Harrison Ford in it. Bet no one knew that. B,
No, I knew that.
his doppelganger. There's a guy on YouTube called Anthony Gruber who can do
Yeah.
the best Harrison Ford impression. They actually cast him in the film to play young Harrison Ford. Apparently, like, he's all right, but when he met Harrison Ford, apparently, like, this kid was starstruck, and Harrison Ford was like confused because he was just doing impressions of him. But yeah, I don't know. I actually half want to see that film because I love Harrison Ford. He's like he's like my dream uncle. But yeah, that's a discussion for another time. Again,
Yeah.
another Star Wars reference.
Yeah, well, we're just knocking it out of the park today with Star Wars references. My number 2... Oh, boy. Oh, it's this film. Okay. My number 2 is Terminator Genesis
Hold it,
Genesis.
hold it.
Originally spelt correctly, since changed to whatever the hell it is they went with. You know what? And I shouldn't even be shocked because I knew that this movie was going to be fucking dreadful. And it was, in every way. George, I think it was you that told me that the rights go back to James Cameron in 2019, and these basically have just been made as one quick cash grab by the studios to get Terminator out there. Such a shame. I'm a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. I will defend anything he's in, whether it's a bad comedy film or a bad action movie. Anything that man is in is pure gold. I
Defend
can't
this.
even defend him in this. He is dreadful. He's sleepwalking his way through it. The film's terrible. It tries to capture... I don't even know what it tries to do. It's like a reboot, but it's also a kind of sequel or midquel or something. It tries to capture the magic of the first and second one. It doesn't try anything new, really. And every time it goes back to the scenes from the first one, from the 80s, or the scenes from like Terminator 2 or anything, it just made me want to watch those movies again and not this one. And the biggest thing, I think, Tate, you talked about it in a previous review not too long ago, the biggest new thing they had going for it, they reveal in the damn trailer. And you're just sort of watching the movie and it's played as this big twist in the film, and it's like, well, you showed this in trailer 2 and trailer 3 and the TV spots. There's just nothing here. Skynet's now like an app on a phone, and the Doctor Who's like a weird vision of it or something. I don't even know. This film was terrible. Emilia Clarke's awful. Jason Clarke was just... He's a good actor. J.K. Simmons.
He was in that film.
J.K. Simmons and... Oh, man. Like, they just wasted him. He's great talent. Didn't use anything with him. And Jai Courtney. You're going to get him to play Kyle Reese. Wow. I could go on and on about this film, but this film was just fucking terrible. And it's sequel bait. It sets up for 2 more, which I hope won't happen, but I think unfortunately it did make sort of a profit at the box office, which is a shame.
I will talk about that later on.
Okay.
I have a lot to say on that.
I basically said everything I wanted to on this piece of shit movie, but yeah. Tate, your number 2. Oh, unless you want to talk about... Well, we're going to talk about it later anyway.
My
so
number 2.
Ooh.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Oh, boy. So, I
don't know what to expect now after
One of my
Spectre.
favourite franchises
It's going to be
of
Jurassic World, isn't it?
all time is Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Wait, you like the
And-
actual franchise?
Huh?
You like the franchise?
I'm okay with 2. I'm okay with 3. It was
I like
meh.
3.
It was
Yeah.
okay. There was some good parts. There was some bad parts in 3. Think of the bad parts in 3, and then multiply it by 1,000 and add all the hype in the world. That's what Jurassic World was. Jurassic World was one of the worst films of the year, and oh dear lord, why did it make so much money at the box office?
People love dinosaurs.
I love
That's it.
dinosaurs. This film was fun.
Fun?
No.
No.
See, I like this. I know there's a lot of issues with it, but I do not ever go into the cinema to watch a film about dinosaurs and not tread lightly. I was alright with it. I like the concept of the park being open for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Giacchino stuff. I mean, I'm a massive Michael Giacchino film. Another Star Wars reference. He was in The Force Awakens. He also turned down doing the soundtrack to it because he said it should be John Williams. Fair play. This I just can't agree with this. Like, there's a lot of flaws. Yeah, The second worst film of the year. I can't agree with it because
it's my
not.
number 3.
It's my most disappointing film of the year.
Well, I can understand the disappointing aspects of it. But like as far as it
I'm
wasn't
telling you now,
horrific.
I was debating putting it at number 1.
No.
I really was, and I was thinking in my head, okay, the number 1 is a bad film. And I reckon I'm just gonna say this now. The number 1 film is a sequel to another film, but the only reason why this is number 2 and not number 1 is because the sequels in these films were better. On a scale, the 2 films are just as bad as each other, and that's never a good thing. This film had so much going for it and had at the same time nothing going for it.
I have to agree. I do like the concept that the park is finally open. I thought that this is a new way to go with the franchise, which I really kind of like. But from the trailers, I could sort of see that this was just going to be like a dumb sort of action movie. And the first Jurassic Park really isn't. It does say a lot, and I know that that's because Spielberg's sort of like helming that entire film. But again, I'm not going to go on to the massive like CGI hate, but the dinosaurs just didn't do it for me in this movie. Even Jurassic Park 3 used like that Spinosaurus like prop towards the end in the river, and it looks fantastic. This one, I didn't believe any of the dinosaurs were there. There was no tension. There was that god-awful sort of military subplot with Vincent D'Onofrio, which was clearly sequel bait, and it'll get one. We're getting one because it made over $1 billion. It was like the quickest to hit a certain amount. I can't even remember how much it was, but it was huge. It was just dumb, it's forgettable, and it has some of the most hateful and loathsome characters in the film I've seen all year. I hated Chris Pratt's character.
Yeah.
Is it Claire? What's her name?
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard. That's it. I hated her character and the whole thing where she's running in heels the whole way through.
Oh God, yeah.
And then they big up this. Can we go into spoilers now? It's been out for half a year.
Everyone's seen it. Everyone's seen it.
The whole ending where you've got the T-Rex being let out again against the, what was it? Indominus Rex. It was just terrible. It had no tension, no gravity.
And even though I counted, because I watched this film twice, even though I count, like, the raptors, 4 raptors get punched to one side.
Yeah.
All 4 of them die. And then suddenly, one of them's running around like, oh, guys, I never got touched. You forgot about me, didn't you? No, didn't you die? Hold on.
Yeah.
Your other friends died. You definitely died. Unless we're saying that this one was injured and managed to get up again and start sprinting. But then, not only that, but in the end, T-Rex looks at the raptor looks at the T-Rex, they nod, they bro-fist, and then they walk off in different directions. That is the sign of a bad, terrible film.
Yeah, and I really didn't like that the Velociraptors were sort of good guys in this movie as well.
Yeah, it's
for
terrible.
the most part. I hated this movie. For me, there's only one true Jurassic Park movie. That's the first one. Really disliked the second one. The third one's just like a fun sort of almost like B movie with dinosaurs in there, and Sam Neill's back. But yeah, I hated Jurassic World.
Goldblum?
I like Jeff Goldblum. I just think he works better as a supporting character.
I'm not going to defend this because I just think it's fun, and that's all I went into for a film about dinosaurs.
See, that's what everyone says about it, but
however,
I'm not going to lie, I found my number 1 film fun, but it is a terrible movie.
However, we now have a 2-on-1 scenario, me and Tate versus Chris for Star Wars, me and Chris versus Tate on Spectre, and you two versus me on Jurassic World.
We have completed the 2015 triangle. Good job, guys.
Exactly.
The circle is now complete.
It's like football. You get the ultimate triangle. I call it the retarded triangle, where everyone beats everyone but no one else. But yeah, we finally got one on this podcast, and arguably they were probably the 3 biggest films coming into the year. Maybe out of Avengers.
Yeah. No, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I've guessed your number 1, Tate, but I'm gonna leave it for
you.
To
Have?
say it. I think I have. Because I've just seen the highest grossing films of all time, chat. But yeah, carry on. Is that what you've got to say on Jurassic World?
Yeah, that's all we have to say.
So it's your number 1?
My number 1 is Terminator Genocide.
Yeah.
This film was so bad. If you actually go back to our review, I don't know if Chris can remember it, I had a beautiful rant about the almighty, the greatest plank to have ever lived, Jai Courtney.
Yeah.
And I referred to him as, I think I just called him the Wood for the whole of the review. And I hate this film. I hated everything about it. It was horrific. I'm a big wrestling fan. They had a stupid wrestling sponsorship where Triple H dressed up as a fucking Terminator in his entrance music.
Yeah, I saw
And the whole thing was, I don't know if it's offensive if I say it, but it's the closest thing to probably like AIDS in film. Literally, it was disgusting. This film, it's really bad. I've said that, but I knew it was going to be bad, but I didn't think it'd ever get that bad. And the thing I hate most was that there are two great Terminator films, and they tried to reboot them and remove them from a timeline. And what's even worse than that is the T-1000s they cast as an Asian actor just so they could release this film in China, because they know. Sorry if there's any Chinese subscribers, but YouTube's probably blocked in your country anyway, so it doesn't matter. They're very no, there's no
Wow! Jesus!
Because they're new to
That was
cinema.
so savage!
They're new to film, everything. They don't know what Terminator 1 and 2 is, so they've just given them Terminator Genesis.
Actually, I'm not going to... No, there is
No.
an actual thing, which is all time travel films are banned in China. No Back to the
Really?
Future, no Terminator, no Doctor Who. Anything involving time travel is banned in China.
But no, they're really strict on what they do with films, and I'm not joking. They only cast that guy as the T-1000 because they could then release it in China to be one of the 28 films of 2015 that got a China release date. That's right. Star Wars had to wait till 2016 to come out in China. Go fuck yourself. The budget. This is the saddest thing. Chris mentioned it just got its money back. Chris, the stupid market overseas,
that
pulled
was
it
what
from
pushed it over, wasn't it? Yeah.
they got it to 440 mil off 150 budget, so it actually, almost trebled.
Mm.
And unfortunately, they are pushing ahead with the sequels.
Oh.
Mhm. They're filming them back to back, I think, aren't they?
I
Just
heard
getting
this,
ahead of
yeah.
that 2019 release.
And Alan Taylor, the director, you sir, can go. I'm not going to swear anymore, but how dare you criticise the people for releasing a trailer that you've got the final say on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I want to know how much they paid James Cameron to endorse this movie. In that cringeworthy video, I don't
laughed.
know if you guys have seen it, where he says, "This is the actual Terminator 3. This is the continuation I wish I could have made." And
It's his
I
fault
don't
as
know
well.
if like the director's like holding the gun to his back and forcing him to say it, and like the checks are just like rolling in. But it's just fucking terrible. It was an awful movie, beginning to end. And you see, I know a lot of people that liked it, like that.
Oh yeah, I had
I
a go
mean-
at someone that liked it. One of my
Yeah.
neighbours. He's like, I like this film. I was like, turn off your opinion.
Yeah, and I went to the cinema and it was.
We should probably do that with Chris on Star Wars.
Yeah. No, Chris, did you like this film more than Star Wars? Jesus
I love Star Wars
Whoa.
way more than this. What are you
The
talking
fact that
about?
you
Of course I did.
hesitated.
What?
I was phrasing my hatred on Terminator Genesis. You caught me off guard with that one. But no, of course Star Wars is way better than this movie. What are you talking about? But no, like I went to the cinema. There wasn't many people there, and it got to the T-1000 in there, and the person that was like, "Oh, T-1000, wicked, cool, awesome," and they were like applauding and shit. And I was like, "But Terminator 2 did this, and it did it so much better than this film did." It was basically the cliff notes of much better Terminator films. And you know what? I actually don't mind Terminator 3 and Salvation. They're nowhere near as good as the first two. I'll completely agree with that, but I think that each one of those movies had something going for it. This one just didn't. I actually want the Terminator franchise to end, and I will never say that about a franchise I love, but...
Die Hard? Imagine this.
Yeah, well, it's the curse of Jai Courtney.
Do you want Die Hard 6 or Terminator Genesis? Sorry, Terminator Genesis 2. Do you know what? It doesn't matter, because I'm going to guess we're getting both.
Yeah, we will get both. I'd probably say Genesis 2, to be honest, because at least if I like just... It's got Arnold in there, sort of, so I could get a little bit of a joy out of it. But no, this film was just terrible, beginning to end, hated it, and it's well, I won't say it destroyed a franchise, because I guess like 3 and 4 like helped it on its way, but this was just the nail in the coffin for me. My number one is probably predictable. This was a broken movie. The director spoke out on Twitter that how much he hated it. We knew it was going to be a mess. That is fantastic. It was just terrible. And the thing is, I'm not even mad about it. like, I'm not raging in fits of like anger and frustration that this film was bad. Like, I knew it was going to be bad. The previous two Fantastic Four films were bad, and just from the trailers we knew that the tone was going to be awful for this one, and it was. It does that whole 1 year later time jump, and you can basically see all the studio's editing shears just going full force. This was a broken movie. The talent they got for this movie is incredible. There's not really one bad actor in this movie, and they're just wasted. It was poor script, poor idea, and the only frustrating thing about it is it's basically nail in the coffin for the Fantastic Four as a franchise for probably like the next 10 years until it can go back to Marvel. Exactly. Yeah.
Just
I don't even want this to go to Marvel. They've had their chance. From a Fantastic Four, they're cool characters. Don't get me wrong, but their nickname is the first Marvel family. Okay, you're the first Marvel family, but when the Avengers came, the Avengers got bigger than you in the comics. They got bigger than you in media. Don't go back to Marvel because I just couldn't be dealing with a third. It's like Spider-Man. I like Spider-Man. I don't give a fuck about Spider-Man being in Civil War because it's the third Spider-Man in 8 years. We really don't need this.
Yeah.
But
I just think there's a lot of potential with the characters, and that's what's frustrating, that Fox have tried 3 times, because I know that they brought out that original Fantastic Four movie which never got released in cinemas, the
just
really old one.
Just to keep the rights.
Yeah, and then they did obviously the 2 ones that we're probably most familiar with, the early 2000s one, Rise of the Silver Surfer. They were really bad movies, and then, but I mean, this one makes them look like fucking Citizen Kane compared to this one.
The thing is with them ones, I mean, I was 9 when it came out. They were fun as a kid. There were a lot of kids that really enjoyed them, but you could take a kid to this one, they're going to be so bored. There is nothing about it except the head exploding scene. But like again, like I would say this time and time again, Doctor Doom is one of my favourite Marvel villains, and
they've never got him right.
How can they not have him right? They've had 3 attempts. They put him in the second Fantastic Four. They put him in this one, and Tony Cabell's great. I mean, obviously he's
Cobra.
Exactly, and they just ruined it. I was there like, for God's sake, just Fantastic Four, just die your death. And dear God, if they reference them in X-Men next year, that's going to be a tragic moment. I hope Deadpool's taking the piss out of how shite it is.
I reckon they will.
Yeah. And the thing is with like Doctor Doom, like I really didn't like those past 2 Fantastic Four films really, but at least they sort of made him look like Doctor Doom. In this, it's like a guy in like, you know, those just plain white plastic masks you can get at Halloween. It looked like a guy in one of those wrapped in like a bin bag. It looked terrible.
I'm glad I haven't seen this film.
Yeah, don't watch it. It's absolute trash. But I can honestly say I don't think I've ever seen like a case of a film where the director's been that open about how bad it is and how miserable it was on set. The actors, I don't even think they turned up to the premiere, did they? Or they hadn't seen it.
They didn't do a premiere.
Sort of, yeah.
They didn't do one. They hadn't seen it.
Comic-Con, like the Q&A, they were just bullshitting their way through it. Endless reshoots, stuff got cut. It was an absolute train wreck of a film, and I can honestly say I don't think in 2015 I don't think I've seen a case of a film like that for a long time. I can't even remember one. And I think the director's words were something like, a year ago I had a good version of this film ready to go, or something like that. It was, yeah. So it had to get my number 1. It was an incomplete movie. It was a flawed from the ground up movie. It's not one I'm angry about because I don't really care about the Fantastic Four as characters that much, and you know, we've been sort of like hurt by the films before, so this wasn't anything new. But I did have to give it my number 1 purely from like just a technical level and everything like that.
Are you ready for what I am considering the worst film of the year? And
yes.
I would totally outrank it on top of Fantastic Four. So, as far as comedies go, they're either hit, miss, or sink. We've got a sinker. Not only a sinker, but it's very difficult to drown in a hot tub. Especially one that can time travel. That's right, people. Hot Tub Time Machine 2. Can a Hot Tub Time Machine sequel survive without John Cusack? No, it can't. It really can't. Hot Tub Time Machine 1 was a funny film. Sure, it was gross, it was terrible writing, but there was a fun element about it. Have you guys have seen the first film, right?
Oh, I haven't actually seen the first one. I've heard it was all right though.
It is actually quite a funny film.
Goes back to the 80s. I think I'd get a kick out of it if I watched
brilliant.
it. Yeah.
It is a film that you can't hate, and like it's a bad film, but you can't hate on it because it's just, it's just funny, And that was probably one of the best comedies of that year. Hot Tub Time Machine 2, the entire plot premise is about getting a guy's dick back, so they travel into the future to find out who shot his dick off. What? How does that make sense as a plot? Terrible acting, terrible visual effects. Where did the magic go, man? Like, it was stupid. The jokes fell flat. It was just ridiculous. I was watching it, and I don't think I laughed once. With a comedy that's bad, especially one that has an okay backing from the first film. And no, it wasn't as well critically received as the first film. But this film, it had nothing going for it whilst watching it. Like, absolutely nothing. And I know that Fantastic Four, you guys are saying, was a bad film. Would you say was there one element of that film that you liked?
Well, as George said, like,
the
head
blood,
exploding
the
was
head
pretty
explosion,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, this had nothing.
There was not
Absolutely
even
nothing.
one funny line.
Not one funny line. In fact, do you know what? I'm going to say this now, because this isn't really a spoiler for a terrible film. Please don't watch this film. In fact, watch this film so you can say how bad it is. John Cusack comes in at the end for the last 10 seconds, and that's probably the best 10 seconds of the film. I'm not a John Cusack fan, but he pulls off one line in 10 seconds. A one-liner, and it's the only one-liner that I smirked at. Not laugh, smirked. A smile came across my face. And that's not good for a comedy film. That really isn't. This is by far the worst film of the year. Even more worse than, like, Fantastic Four. Like, this was god-awful.
So you'd say this is the Grease 2 of comedy sequels?
Mate, this is the Grease 3. I'm sure that exists. No. I'm going to tell you now, this is the Titanic 2.
Yeah.
And if anyone knows what that film is, then you'll
I know what that
how
film,
bad
yeah.
it is.
Yeah. Well, I can't really comment on this. I mean, I haven't seen the first one. I haven't seen the second one. I heard the second one was terrible, but I didn't think it was any particularly worse than, say, like Hangover 2 or 3 or other comedy sequels like that.
With the Hangover franchise, there will always be something on with it. There are a few jokes in each film. You'd laugh at the situation they're in, or you'd just be like, oh yeah, I can relate to that. They made a film about a hot tub time machine. That's something that isn't really relatable. Going back to the 80s is going into the future to save his dick's life is not a plot that is supportable in any way, shape, or form. Not even slightly. And they're trying to make a career here out of Adam Scott. And Adam Scott...
Hey, no. Do you watch Parks and Rec?
Parks and Rec? No, I don't.
He's great in Parks and Rec before you say something. He's
I'm
funny in it.
I'm saying this now. He may be good in TV shows, but he ain't good in movies. Especially this one. He's one of the worst elements of it.
Step Brothers? Do you not like him in that?
He was okay in that. Not gonna lie. But this film, it was just... Watch the first film. The first film's good. But this was clearly a cash grab. They thought, oh wow, this is actually quite good. This film didn't need a sequel. It would have been a brilliant one-off film. It's like trying to make a sequel to Inception. It's not worth it. It really isn't. So, yeah.
Boom. Mic drop. So, I think we're all done our lists now and said everything
I've
we
finished
can.
venting.
I've got some things to say.
Sure, go for it.
As this is the last 2015 thing we're doing, I wanted to quickly talk about the box office. I've just been looking at Chris. You know, I'm always into looking at the money stuff.
Yeah.
The top 10. I'm not going to read it out. Everyone can guess. 8 of them are sequels of the top 10 at the minute. There's one original film which is Inside Out. There's one film based off a book which is The Martian. So there's really only really one original film all year. However, it is Wednesday the 30th of December. Star Wars has been out for 13 days. 14 days worldwide. It's on $1.228 billion. That puts it 10th. No, sorry, not 10th. 9th worldwide ever, and it's gonna easily fly past 2 bill. Me and Tate sort of spoke about this earlier.
Yeah.
And it's gonna happen soon. But it has decimated every record you can think of. Quickest to 1 billion, quickest to 100, 200, all of that is destroyed it. But just in the state that this is Star Wars' year, and I will commend Jurassic World and Fast and Furious 7. Fast and Furious 7 came out of nowhere, and it somehow got loads of box office records.
I'm not going to lie, I've seen that film. Best thing about that film's the song. It's another Fast and Furious film, if not.
Well, yeah, I commend it.
I just got to make a quick comment on Fast and Furious films, because I would have included it in here, but then I realised what the Fast and Furious films are. They're the film that you turn your brain off for 2 hours.
No, you're not meant to take it serious. That's what I did with Jurassic World. But a different story. I just commend Fast and Furious because no one thought it'd make so much money. 1.5 billion, fair play. Everyone says that's because of Paul Walker. I think that's partially to do with it, but partially because everyone's kind of seen them now. It was kind of like a Call of Duty stage where everyone had played 1 or 2. They all ended up buying the same one. Everyone went to cinema for this one. I commend that for having all the records for 2 months. Then Jurassic World came along. They got cocky. They got the record for 6 months. And Star Wars is here to stay. It's going to steal everything.
And then Star Wars is going to have it for a year, then Rogue One's going to take it.
But my final point is, there is a George Lucas Thug Life video. He's on the red carpet for The Force Awakens. He's chatting about something, and the Jurassic World producer comes over to him and goes, haha, our film's #1. George Lucas turns around and says, I will crush you like a bug. And that sums up this year in film for me.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
just the
Star Wars just dominating, and it will continue. I know people that have seen it 3, 4 times, even casual fans. So as you said, this is just going to sail past 2 bill easy. Hopefully it catches up with Avatar, because I would love to see. Even though I thought Force Awakens was average, just to have a Star Wars movie as the highest grossing film of all time would be amazing.
It's already the highest grossing Star Wars film, isn't it?
Yeah. And when it comes out in China next Friday, they are going to soar. Again, China, you're not listening right now. They're new to Star Wars, but they're all going to be...
You offended them all, that's why.
They're all going to be stunned. They're going to be, what on earth is this? What was the first Death Star? I don't know, I'm not going to complain. Look at Starkiller Base. And they don't even use Chinese actors to get sales. They just took it into China because it's fucking Star Wars. Fair play.
Yeah.
They didn't ban on to anyone, unlike fucking Terminator Genesis. And every other film. Michael Bay exploited it. Fair play for that. That was funny, and now it's really not good funny. It's been taken too far. But yeah, that's my overview.
But yes, so that'll do it. That's sort of our roundup of 2015 then. So we sort of ended the year with our top 15 films, top 15 worst films. So that will do it for 2015. Overall, I think it's been a decent year. I think we've had some great films, new franchises that have sort of like made a resurgence with like Mad Max Fury Road, and smaller films like Ex Machina. I think this one's definitely had some good ones. And we look forward to moving into 2016 with things like Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. We've got Civil War, basically all the comic book films. We've got X-Men Apocalypse, and obviously kicking off the end of the year, we'll have another Star Wars movie, Star Wars Rogue One, which I think there's a countdown already out there for that movie. So yeah, it's been a fun one. So again, thanks for getting us to 100 subscribers. We really appreciate it. We'll hopefully double that next year, because we're going to bring in you more new shows, which we won't go in depth into right now. That'll be a different video, but we've got a lot of ideas we're sort of throwing around, so the channel can keep growing and just changing as the years go on. So yeah, that'll do it. Be sure to rate, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know your worst film of the year, or a list of your worst films of the year. You can find us at Facebook at facebook.com/cinemasavvy. We're on Twitter at cinema_savvy, and we're also at Letterboxd at letterboxd.com/cinema_savvy. So get involved with the channel. Thanks again for getting us to 100, and we look forward to seeing you in 2016. So until next time, thanks for listening, and Happy New Year.